video content ideas to grow your business. The concept here is I already have a business. I'm thinking about getting onto YouTube to kind of promote the business. What would you recommend for somebody who's trying to create content and they're looking for ideas on how to do that? You know, would you go to a similar space, like a niche, what they're doing? How would you determine that? Because there's a lot of different ways to do this, I think. You know, it's not just one. You know, off the top of my head, just to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit, I would think about everybody's a consumer, right? So I think if you're willing to go a little bit deeper in the waters and not think about what's just on top of the surface, right? Go underneath the water, look at the iceberg. I think you could find things like, oh, like I'm a company who sells insurance. Well, you know, insurance is incredibly boring. So it's like talking about insurance, and I'm speaking from experience. Like that was one of the challenges with working with that company, is that it's just really hard to talk about insurance and captivate an audience. Like who the hell cares? You know, how could you go from that, you know, to creating any type of content that people actually want to watch, right? So I know I'm throwing a hard one at you.
Well, insurance would be the really hard one to do, but like, I mean, you could even look at like what Progressive and these guys, they create characters and like storylines and because their product is so hard to sell. It's like, right. But you need it. So like they got to get your attention somehow.
So just for brand visibility, right? The way that they're using YouTube is really just, you know, comedic fun, right? And half those guys, or some sort of emotion that they evoke. They tell a story. I would have to think
harder about that, and for insurance as an example. Sure, that would be one of the hardest ones. But what came to mind when you were telling me this was our friend Jamie's company, Dent Busters.
Right.
So you know, he does paintless dent repair to automobiles, and sometimes he does them for shops, sometimes he does them for you know, regular consumers or just people. And I would say if someone like him would be like, how do I promote my business? Exactly, you know. I would create 3 channels. And it sounds crazy to people who've never created a channel, but these are easy. These are easy to create. Like you do it in like an hour, you know. You could create all 3 in an hour. And the branding's easy, the whole thing's easy, you know. It's not that hard. But I would create 3, and the first one would be specifically what you do. So showing videos of you working, this and that, et cetera, et cetera. The second would be like
maybe car reviews.
Yeah, something that's outside of what you do. It's related to what you do, but it's to the masses.
Yeah.
Because dent repair like is so narrow. It's like only someone who needs a dent repaired. But like, how can you get into the outer layers of your niche? And like car reviews is a good example. But go ahead, what were you going to say?
Well, only because, you know, chances are if I'm looking at car reviews, it's probably because I'm trying to sell my car and, I should get it in its best shape possible.
Right.
So I think, you know, you're trying to build, when you think about your demographic, I think one thing we could think about is trying to build what they call personas, right? Like, hey, why would somebody be coming to watch car reviews? And I'm not talking about like a Ferrari. I'm talking about like a car review on like a minivan. It's like, well, why would they do that? It's because they're interested in buying a minivan, right? Or there's a good chance that 50% of them are at least thinking about that, or whatever the percentage is. In essence, I'm also going to probably trade in my car. Why would I keep my car, right? Oh, I got dents on my car. You know, oh, wait a minute, this guy does dents. You know, like, so that's a great example.
That makes it even better. And also, cars are just like something that everyone has. So like so you're doing dent repair, but anyway, on their first channel, just showing, you don't have to do a ton of them. You're not trying to make money on that channel just yet, if it takes off maybe. But if you're just trying to promote your business, that. And the second one would be like, you know, extended into something that millions of people have, cars. Do reviews, do some research on like vidIQ, find out what are some things that people are searching for.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's really competitive because you're just using this as free advertising. So you're not trying to make your income off this. So just pick the things that people are searching for and do videos on them.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is I would do a feeder channel. And like, I wouldn't treat it as a feeder channel, just do compilations. Don't worry about getting monetized.
Yeah.
Just do like compilations do time lapses of cars, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter. And like, or the more you can think of it tying into your original thing, the better. However, you want to break out of that a little bit. You want to think about what are millions of people watching, and then I could promote my at the end, and it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Brought to you by, boom. And then just like a 5-second, do this, you know, click below for 50% off. Boom, put at the beginning of these compilations, they get millions of views. Your company gets millions of impressions. Send the end screens to your other 2 channels. It sounds like very difficult to do, but it's not. All this takes no time. The hardest one to do would be your first channel, which is like you filming yourself doing dent repair in this regard.
Which is a great, like, there's two things I'm thinking about there. The first one is when you're doing your business yourself and, you know, you think about like, you know, how to get a dent out, right? You just like kind of type that in so you can also show people. There's a good chance that 60% of them, they won't be able to get the dent all the way out, right? So who are they going to call, right? Well, the guy that just educated them on how to do it, right? The other thing is when you're talking about compilations, I immediately thought of like, you know, top 10 like hailstorms, but most of the video compilations are cars getting pelted, right? So subconsciously, you're still kind of, you know, in that space. You're watching cars get pelted with these dents, right? So I think like that's a great perspective of having these three.
They're attacking from different angles, but they're all giving you brand awareness, which is not only important to the end buyer, but the people you're going to partner with to go get end buyers. Like those shops, and to stay in the same example, those shops need him,
right?
Someone like him.
Yeah.
Now maybe they're already working with somebody, but they've seen you on YouTube in a few different varieties of thing. Like, yeah, okay, I'll work with you too. Whereas before, it's like, we already got someone. So just a small example of, again, how just like creating this brand, this some kind of building a little bit of trust with who you are, that could turn you into $1 million company later. And it's free. You can just do it. This kind of advertising, or you can go spend $5K a month on AdWords and whatever other ads you're running and roll the dice.
Right.
So this is just a different way of advertising.
It's a much better way, and it's your sales team, it's your marketing team, but it's paid for at some point, and you know it could actually end up paying you more. You know, like the reality is, like if you're a small business and you're making, you know, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month, and you start 3 channels in the course of 2 years, they could be making that same amount in, you know, monthly or close to that. You know, like you got a few sponsors, including yourself. I think that's the other thing that we could lightly touch on and then move on, which is when you have those channels, you also have the ability to sponsor on
sponsors your own, or be your own sponsor,
right? Both, right? So now you have 3 different ways to make money, promote your own business. So for us, like we look at these things and we're like, this seems very obvious, but like not a lot of businesses still do it today. No business.
Almost
really
none do.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Almost none do. And it is crazy because it's fun, it's free, it's easy. You don't even have to put yourself out there. All of our channels are faceless.
Yeah.
So you know, aside from this one, so you don't have to put yourself out there even. It's like, it's such a better way to advertise. It's a little bit of a longer game. Like, because if you pay $5K for ads, you're going to get some business back, but you might lose. You might only get $3K of business back.
Yeah.
When you're doing this, like,
well,
it's
and you got to
keep
paying
a while. You got to keep paying $5 or whatever it is. But with this, doesn't cost money. I mean, you can spend money on it or have people do it for you. It's fine. But it goes slow at first. But when it works on that exponential curve. Yeah. It's not linear like spending ads and getting your ad return and maybe tweak it and then you get a little more that month, a little less that month. It's like this, and then, you know, now your channel's making money. Now sponsors are calling you to place their ads on there. People are calling your business to go do work. It works so massively, but it might take a year. It might take 6 months. It might take 1. Yeah.
Shape it, replacing the truth. I really can't hate it, but the lies are so creative. I don't mean to celebrate it, but it's cool. But look, the more that I deny it, adds the fuel to the fire. Your delusions I desire, but it's cool.